Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another process video, and I have this Teresa Collins punch out page, and I want to use that in conjunction with this black and white photograph that I have. I also have some thickers, some chili bean soup, and these papers that are just random scraps and pieces that I had in my stash that went with that Teresa Collins punch out sheet. And this was my inspiration, and I wind up doing something almost completely different by the end. So, you just kind of got to roll with it. And I wanted to go ahead and leave the process in so you could see, kind of where I started and where I wound up, and I'll try to explain some of my thinking along the way. So, I really loved that little quadrant there with the kind of scripty words on it that say precious, beautiful, love you, adorable, because I'm scrapbooking this photo of my son-in-law and two granddaughters, and they're just sitting in the chair in the evening reading a book together, and it was just a really sweet photo of him and the girls. And so I went ahead, and that Teresa Collins has kind of a reddish tomato color in it. So I went ahead and matted the photo with another piece of paper that kind of brought out that red color, and then another piece of paper that brought out the kind of tealy blue that's in the Teresa Collins sheet as well. Then I really loved the wood grain, and so I wanted to use that whole piece just going across the center of a page. And so I go ahead and pick this sheet as my background paper, and I like the wood because it was kind of masculine, and then I made the blue mat a little bit bigger. And so I was trying to keep this, be something that, he won't cringe when he sees it, that it's all pink and floral. You'll see in the end I do wind up putting some flowers on it. So I guess he'll just have to deal with it. And but, the granddaughters are in there, so of course there can be flowers, and, he loves gardening and farming and stuff anyhow, so I'm sure he'll be fine with flowers. But anyhow, so I go ahead and I start punching out some of these items off the sheet, and I got a couple little punch out sheets a while ago at, I think it was a Cherry on Top in their clearance section. It was really inexpensive. And yeah, this is how die cut ephemera used to come before it came already cut out for us. We had to punch it out yourself. That's kind of how old this is. They don't make as many punch out sheets nowadays as they used to. And so I'm doing this, and on that background paper, I'm just not really liking it. Once I do some of the punch outs and pull the colors over, it was the punch outs when I punched them were more white. So I found this 7 paper from Studio Calico that has these wood rounds on the back and this white brick on the front, and I like that a lot better. It was a lot less dingy than the other one, and pulled out that true white. And then that little this little piece I'm going to cut apart so it will span both the top and bottom and look like a full piece, even though it was only like a quadrant on the sheet. I think that was like a Simple Stories where they give you a piece of paper that has just like quadrants or whatever on it. So I make it kind of look like it's one full piece. And so I'm liking that a lot better, with the white background. And, the brick and wood, are kind of more industrial. So I took it to my sewing machine. You could see I sewed along the top and bottom of this large piece, and then the top and bottom of the photo mat, just kind of lifting those edges up. And then I really liked these kind of craft colored thickers, and so I'm kind of thinking of using those, but I also love this You and Me that was on the punch out sheet. So I'm kind of going back and forth as to what I'm going to use as my title. But then I didn't really like the punch outs that much once I started using them. So I went ahead and just went to my die cut machine and got this piece of Dear Lizzie documentary paper, and I just die cut a whole bunch of stuff, and you could see me go through real fast the dies that I used. But I had this banner die that I got at Tuesday Morning here not too long ago, and I liked that. And then the Dear Lizzie documentary, I cut it, the love out using both sides of the paper because I wasn't sure which side I was going to go with for my wording. But since I'm going to use the colored side for all those flowers, I thought I'd go ahead and use the kind of, it's kind of a gradient blue watercolor that's the back, and that's the banners and the love. I used that back blue section. And then all these colored flowers and this tab and everything are the floral side of that documentary paper. And so now I'm just going to build up my flowers, and this flower die was one I got at the Scrapbook Expo here when I went to visit Sawcrafters during the summer, and I really like the die. I like the graduated sizes of flowers on there. So I just did that, and then the tab die, shoot, now I can't remember, and I showed it so fast there. I think it was the Tailored Expressions, but I might be wrong. But just, yeah, some nice tabs, and that way it brings a little bit of that color to the upper right of that photo mat. And so this is going to be kind of my design. So like I said, it kind of took a turn. I started with that Teresa Collins punch-out page as, you know, my whole inspiration. And then once I got it on there, I was just not liking it all that much. So now these flower dies have a little tiny hole in the center, which is cool. So I can use a brad to hold them together and layer the graduated sizes of flowers together. You know, and this is really old school. Not that many people use brads, but hey, I've got bunches of them. I think I bought some just bags of them from like Oriental Trading a long time ago, and you know, they just last forever. So first I start out with these that have the jeweled bling on the top, and I pull out some that are whites and blues, and I go down this path, but it was just a little bit too much sparkle for me, and this layout wound up being a little more subdued and a little more pastel than I had originally thought. So it was just kind of almost too much bling for me. I know that sounds strange. Usually I'm always trying to add touches of bling to a layout, but in this case, yeah, it was just too much bling. So I go and get some just matte, regular old school brads, and here they are. And I just use that, and it's kind of a little off-white color that I finally wind up going with. I think I try a little bit of a chartreuse one at one point, but I just stick with all off-white, just really subtle. And, you know, I just like that better. And you can see on that love die cut, I also die cut out 2 pieces of thin chipboard, and I'm going to glue all those together, the 2 pieces of chipboard and the word love, and that'll give me kind of like my own homemade thicker. It'll have some dimension to it, and I'll glue that together here shortly. There you can see I tried the chartreuse brad, but no, I'm just going to go with the off-white. So I had taken a picture of the layout because I liked the way the flowers and stuff are kind of positioned on there right now. And I knew I wanted to kind of take this apart and sew along those banners. And here was another thing. I'd pulled those little flashcards at the very beginning, and then I wind up not using any of them either. So I think now I go over to, oh no, I'm going to add a little bit of glue, and I use some wet glue just on the main parts of that banner so that there's no glue where I'm going to sew. And of course, my glue kind of dried up. I'm trying to finish this bottle off. I have one of those fine line bottles that I'm going to put some fresh glue in, but this glue is almost to the end, so I'm trying to finish it up first before I move to my fine line bottle. So I just put a little dot of glue on each of the little banners, and that'll hold it while I take it over to my sewing machine, and then my needle on my sewing machine won't have to go through any of the adhesive and gunk up my machine. So there I've sewed it, and you'll see it better in the close-ups, but yeah, I just went right along the top to give it more of a banner look. And then like my other stitching, I'm just going to take some washi tape and tape the ends on the back just to make sure it doesn't unravel on me. Or if it does start unraveling, it can only go so far. So I'm liking that. I'm just going to use my Scotch Quick Dry. Like I said, it's almost empty, so I'm struggling here. The struggle is real. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this one tab on that side just to bring a little bit of that color up there. And that's where I'm going to put the date. And I did use my tiny attacher and just put a couple staples in there for some texture. And here I am just gluing these first two pieces of chipboard together. And then I'm going to glue the piece of designer paper on the top of that. And there I have my own customized thicker. And that's a die I got on sale at Hobby Lobby. I've only been to Hobby Lobby once because it's really far away from me. But yeah, they had that on sale, and I think it's something I'll be able to use a lot. So now I am just putting my flowers back down, making sure I like the positioning, and thinking, you know, what else am I going to add to this to beef it up a little bit? So I know I want to maybe add some word phrases in there. So I pull out my stash of just kind of word stickers and start just kind of thumbing through those. But the colors were really off. And then I looked at my homemade ones. I wasn't too sure about those, and I did really like these Maggie Holmes ones. So I like that some of them are kind of slightly, they're kind of off-white, but they also have a little bit of blue on them. And I'm thinking of putting them over in the banner, but that was just a little bit too much. So I put one on the love, and then I put the two at this upper corner cluster. And that just brings your eye more to that photo. I think about adding this one to the side, but it just didn't really work there. So now I'm going to glue my flowers and my love down. The love I'm going to put, because I put that little word phrase sticker, I'm just going to put a little bit of foam tape behind the word phrase sticker so it doesn't slump. And then just add some glue to the back of the chipboard. And then I'm just going to use the same glue on the back of the flowers, and I just be sure to coat the brad and some of the paper, and you know, so I've got enough area that it'll adhere to the background paper. And then I refer back to my original photo just to make sure I had things placed back the way I liked them. So I'm really liking this. It's a lot different than what I was originally thinking, but I just love the soft quality of it and that it's, you know, pretty simple. I still want to beef it up a little more, add a little more interest to it after those phrase stickers. So I think I'm still thinking about adding something to those banners. And I had punched out some little hearts. I do add a few staples there and to the upper corner just to add a few more staple clusters. But like I was saying, I had cut out a few little hearts. So I think about adding some of those, but I just only had one or two cut out. And I didn't really want to add a heart to every single banner piece. I thought that would look too cluttered. But I only had these two little hearts. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab my die and cut a few more of those tiny hearts out just to place one or two. And there's the actual die. And that was another one that I think I just got at Tuesday morning, I think, when they were having that big die sale. So I just cut it out of a scrap of paper, and it's the back of that red mat I used around the photo. That's what this paper is I'm using for these hearts. And I thought I'd only put one heart in each of the strings. So that fourth heart, I just go ahead and move down to where my thing says love down there and where I have that other word phrase sticker. And that just adds a little bit of interest to those banners without getting too cluttered. And so I'm really liking that and how simple that is. And then I decide lastly I do want to add some splatters. So I'm going to go through, I wanted to get some teal splatters, but I do some testing, and most of my mists are either too green, you know, more like seafoam green, or they're really blue. I don't really have a very subtle one. You'll see I pull out a couple. I tested that Shimmers one that I had that was too green. This Heidi Swap Seafoam, of course, is too green. This Patina from Tattered Angels is too blue. So this other Tattered Angels is the most subtle blue that I have. And I try putting some sprinkles of it down, but it's almost too pale. You can't really see it, especially after it starts drying. You can see it a little better right there, but once it starts drying, you know, it was a little bit too subtle for me. So I have some Lindy Stamp Gang black, but my black just never dries. So I go ahead and I got this little, it's a little cake of black ink, almost like a watercolor pan that I got from Shimmers. It was a free one I got when I mentioned Missy Whidden's name when I ordered from them. And you just add some water and try not to spill it, and sprinkle it on the paper. And I really love how it turned out. I haven't seen yet, you know, how well it dries, but I think it's going to dry just fine. And then there is my finished layout. And I really, again, I love how it turned out. I love that it's simple. I love that it's soft colors with little pops of that chartreuse and red. And it's got pink and the teal, and yet it still looks calm. And I got to use a whole bunch of my die cuts, which I love being able to do. I love being able to use my tools over and over again. So that is my finished layout. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment below, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.